During the month of June, we were celebrating the 47th anniversary of the Soweto uprisings, where hundreds of young people were brutally killed for the fight against the then apartheid regime. Under the same theme, accelerating youth economic emancipation for a sustainable future. The education sector, as the leading department in the transformation agenda of this particular country, tabled its own program designated to benefit the youth of this province on the 15th of June in Gqeberha, and on the 29th of June again in Namtata, where we launched the phase 4 of the Presidential Youth Employment Initiative. Of the 15th of June, DDGs, we left in Gqeberha 40 million rands one single day through the construction of the schools via the renovation of schools, each given 1 million rands for that. So we're trying to respond in terms of the SMEs and also the young people that are in the construction space in Gqeberha, to be precise. All those endeavors were aimed to uplift the lives of the young people who are now facing a different challenge than that of 1976. So the department administered the June examinations in 943 schools in the province, noting that 3 performing schools opted not to participate in the examinations as they have their own assessment programs. It is critical to note that these examinations were meant to provide support to current grade 12 learners who have never been exposed to standardized common assessment from grade 10 due to COVID-19 and its regulations. Program Director, as the sector is aiming to improve its grade 12 results to 80% as our own target in the current academic year, it is critical that from time to time we assess the performance of the system to ascertain if indeed we are on track or not. This we do in order to come up with strategies that will ensure achievement of the desired results. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to indicate that our grade 12 mid-year pass percentage for this current academic year, currently we are standing at 73.7, which is an improvement of 2.6 from the previous year, which was 71.7. On the other hand, the National Senior Certificate pass percentage for 2022 was 77.3, which was an increase of 6.6. Therefore, the improvement is observed in 2023 mid-year results suggest that the province is still on course in obtaining its own target pass rate of 80%, as I said earlier on. The greatest improvements are observed in the rural districts once more again. Quite a very strange phenomenon again this year. It is observed in Crisani East with an improvement of 8.8%, Alfrenzo East at 6.8%, OR Tambo at 6%, Joe Gabi at 5.6%, Amatole East at 5.6%. As you can see, the improvement in these districts is in excess of 5%, which is above the provincial average. Districts will organize a set of learner support focusing on special intervention classes made of the following: the learner camps, overnight camps, extended hour programs. The department will provide specialized learner support material with the emphasis on the exam tips, past examination papers, examination guidelines, study guides, the HOD's letter to the learners to motivate and also guides them. Again, in terms of the learner enrollment, lower learner enrollment schools, the district will provide to lower learner enrollment schools around the following strategies for their weekend classes, extended hour classes, as well as spring schools. The deployment of subject advisors to teach areas of difficulties will be done. Utilization of the support from partners to complement normal teaching and learning. The incubation of small schools into bigger and performing schools, so that there is that relationship between the two categories of schools. And also the total incubation of the whole with all the subjects, and partial incubation in terms of the transportation of learners for the identified subjects. We must know by name each and every learner in the province. Where is this learner? How has he or she performed? In what subject? What are the blind spots on this particular individual? How do we rescue her or him in terms of making sure that you reduce the number of learners that might have not made up during the end of the year? Expose all learners to various forms of revision and assessment as means of building their confidence and improve performance. If you still remember, last year we have got not less than 63,000 learners that passed. And our task is not to just make sure that they have passed, but they must pass with colors, so that you can be able to trace them in terms of the tertiary institutions that they are supposed to be absorbed into, so that you don't just have learners that passed for the sake of passing grade 12, but you don't have them as part of the cohort in the tertiary institutions that we have in the country. We have also identified the digital support. As department, we have also finalized a program of live broadcasting support programs focusing on high enrollment subjects, with a schedule for revisioning broadcasting programs to be conducted during the final examinations until the last paper. Schedules for lessons broadcasted are communicated to all schools as soon as possible. They will receive them immediately they have reopened. Key elements for the digital support includes visual lessons that are broadcasted via Microsoft Teams on specified days from Monday to Friday up until they wrote the last paper. The radio lessons scheduled in support of grade 12 learners, TV support programs offered by DBE at a national level, the curriculum website of the department with usage of material to support learners, and lastly, the ECDOE website, which has loaded with requisite support materials for all grade 12 learners, and also encouraged to visit all those sites. In terms of the second chance Matric program, which we started in 2016, the Department of Basic Education launched the second chance Matric program aimed at assisting learners who did not meet the requirements of the NSC and the amended senior certificate. These are all endeavors to give such learners the second chance of achieving grade 12 qualifications, which is a key to all doors of success. It is important to note that all candidates who qualify to write the examination must have a valid SBA examinations written in October and November. Because in terms of the assessment standard in the country, those kids are not writing for 100%. They are writing for 75%. The 25% is already for school-based assessment. So if you then have got no school-based assessment, there is a likelihood that those kids will fail automatically, because you subject them into lower percentage that they are going to write at that time. So hence, the management and monitoring of the school-based assessment is critical in the province, and also critical in the country in general for that matter, so that kids cannot be disadvantaged when they go and write the formal examinations in October. These set results are achieved under difficult circumstances by most of our schools, hence the need to ensure that required resources are availed. It is for this reason that now the department for the 2023-2024 financial year decided to fund the schools at a national norm of 1,602 rands per learner for quintile 1 to 3, 803 for quintile 4, and 278 for quintile 5. You will remember that for the past 3 years, in the province, we have been in the region of 900 provisioning of the school norms and standards. Now we have taken a decision to say, let's stabilize somewhere and make sure that we reach the target in terms of the national norm, which is 1.6 per learner, so that schools can function very well without any hiccup in terms of the rands and cents that goes to them via tranches. The payments in respect of the school norms and standards, totaling to the amount of 671.3 million, were made to 4,989 ordinary schools, with a benefit of 1,624,582 learners. So when you talk about that amount, you are talking directly to the benefit of learners, not to the school per se. Hence, we are breaking down who are these beneficiaries of this 671 million that we're talking about. All qualifying schools have received their respective first tranche allocation in May, so that we don't go into the second semester with a non-payment of any kind. Once you talk about Nelson Mandela and Buffalo City, those are metros. So there is a relationship between the interest of the parents migrating from certain areas into the two for economic reasons, and therefore put a strain in terms of the absorption capacity and also the admissions policy in education as a sector. So that's why you must have your own plan on these two, on how to deal with it and develop mitigation, so that the department has developed a schedule of meetings between the hotspot and head office officials to mitigate any potential crisis during the end of the academic year. Because remember, kids must be admitted now, not next year. Those choose in January are defaulter parents. At defaulter parents, we don't want choose in schools in January. Everyone who wants his or her own kid to go to school must go now, so that we close up admissions as per the dictates of the prescripts in December. No one must be in choose in January, because January is the period for learners to be enrolled and get the tuition that is expected of them. The department, after approximately 4 years back, having a moratorium on the filling of the vacancies, precisely because of the budgetary constraints that we have for the past 4 years. Now we have approved the advertisement and the filling of the post of 379 office-based positions, as well as non-educator posts, 379 ones. That talks to not educators, that talks to clerical work, therapists, directors, 5 of them, chief directors, 3 of them, and a vacancy at the level of the TTGs, and some clerks that must be dispersed into schools and as well to circuit management centers, so that you can have an effective administration via that area. So we are offering 379 posts that are on the advert. By tomorrow, the HOD is supposed to be signing off that advert with the OTP, so that people can be able to look into it in a space of a week or so that they can be able to apply into various positions that will be there. Furthermore, last week, as the Department of Education, we appointed 100 young unemployed educators to join the mainstream via the interns for a period of 24 months. We chose to at least reduce the number of qualified educators outside there. Even if you don't have a space in terms of the organizational structure, but create via the SETAs, create an opportunity for them to learn the ministry and the department. Hence, we have taken them as interns for a period of 2 years, so that whilst we are dealing with the absorption of the young people, but also we are shading off the elderly ones progressively, so that you don't have an elderly department that does not have a transition between the young and the old. Otherwise, your systems can collapse. In an attempt to respond positive to the service delivery challenges, the department has revised the business model from centralization to decentralized one. For many years, the department's apex has been responsible for strategic management and as well implementation of the business strategy, with districts having less autonomy and functions. This approach rendered the districts to be ineffective, administratively speaking, as all powers has been enabled functions were centralized in the head office. Currently, we have just taken a decision that department has once again taken a conscious decision to devolve the HR and finance powers to district directors. From the effect of 1st of July, district directors were given delegations to appoint all institutional-based educators from post level 1 to post level 4, so that you curtail the red tape that is there in the recruitment process of government. Because you can't appoint a teacher today, tomorrow it must be in the circuit management offices, that week it must be in the district office, that week it must be in the cluster office, next month it must be in the DDGs and therefore HODs. It took some time for us to conclude that process, and hence we just took a decision to say, no. This is unnecessary. This bureaucratization of recruitment is unnecessary. Let the school appoint this person that they want, then the district director concurs and sign that thing off, so that we took at least a week in dealing with that, so that you don't have vacancies that are created by the bureaucratic recruitment process itself. In terms of security and fencing, we have already currently have 214 fencing projects in the province at a cost of 60 million. Of those, 106 are already in construction and 108 has been already completed. 108 has already been completed in terms of fencing, and 106 is already under construction. The reason is to respond to the issues of social ills that affects our learners. You'll remember the issue of the northern areas in Port Elizabeth, where gangsters sometimes get into schools. So you needed to make sure that security is tightened up in those particular levels of schools. In terms of the shortages of classes, we are providing also alternative building methodology for 74 schools in the province at a cost of 32 million. Of course, 28 has been completed and the rest are in various stages of procurement and construction. But 12 additional classes are completed as well between April and June. We are also speeding up the 6 schools that has been identified for hostels with a budget of 109.3 million. Of the 2 are under construction, the Tsokota and Tembale, 2 secondary schools, and completion is anticipated in the first quarter of 2024. So in Tsokota and Tembale, we are anticipating ukuyigqiba between January and March next year. And one of those is Hilltown Comprehensive, which also is currently in the procurement. This is also a multi-year contract, which also will bring in number of learners into the historical school called Hilltown. In terms of the special schools, The department remains committed in making inclusive education a priority, with the following special schools have been identified to be implemented their own projects with a budget of 78 million in terms of renovating some and building some. Kayaletu Special School in Buffalo City, Kanyisa Special School, Ilingomso Letu Special School, Ematole East, Inomvume Junior Primary School, Maryville School in Nelson Mandela, and also Amasango Career School in Buffalo City. Allow me to, ladies and gentlemen, to conclude by saying we honor this particular service and commit that right through the academic year, we will forge ahead in terms of ensuring that the people of the province benefit from the proceedings of their own government, but also looking forward to change the education landscape in the province, but also look into the output that is expected out of us. We have analyzed the trends in the country in terms of the sector. We have analyzed the performance of provinces right through, because we have got a benefit of sitting in the CEM. We have also made our own research and studies in terms of how should we make sure that we don't just make kids to pass. I learned a bit better last CM, BcmTv in my closing. I learned very bitter last CM, only to find that the top 4 provinces of this country are not in any way closer to the human capital and growth of this country. Maybe let me raise it here, this thing. The top 4 provinces of this country do not do maths and physics. They do the soft subjects. In essence, they do life orientation, they do LO, and they do subjects that are not part of the National Development Plan. Now, the question is, who then's responsibility is to produce the human capital if it is not basic education? If it is not basic education, whose responsibility is to produce the human capital? Because the human capital solely depends on the content of what is taught in the theater of production of knowledge and skill, which is a classroom or a lecture room. So if you then say in terms of your NDP, you would want to have architects in 2023, you can't get those architects if grade R is not aligned. If the content of grade R to grade 12 is not aligned, because that misalignment is going to be a misalignment in the tertiary institution as well. And the ultimate goal of what we would want to get as a nation and a country is already misaligned. So hence I'm saying it's going to be important that we panel beat the content of what our kids are learning so that they learn for a particular purpose. They don't learn to pass, but they learn to contribute in the economy of the country in the next coming 20 or 15 years to come. So the investment that it must be made now must be an investment that is pregnant in meaning, not just about being certificated, get certificate and leave. No. There must be a deliberate exercise of ensuring that the young people of this country are prepared to lead this country in the next decades that are coming. And how do you do that? You do that via the content of what must be done in basic education and as well in the Department of Higher Education and Training. It can't be just a question of just going to school and learn. Learn what? It can't be just a process of going to education and learn. Learn what? It can't be just a question of just passing. Passing what? Because that what must be answered when we are all cornered here with a growthless economy in the country. Currently, we have got an economy that is not growing. So any intervention that is made now must be an intervention that understands the crisis of the nation that is confronted with. Hence I'm saying, we can't be learning for the sake of learning here. There must be a deliberate clarion call of ensuring that the content subjects that are taught here respond to the development plan of the province, respond to the national development plan of the province, respond to the climate change that is confronting the global village now, deal with the issue that every day we're confronted with of disasters and storms in the province, deal with the issue of the oceans economy, which is also a nodal point now as this particular generation. So it can't be just an issue of just going to school, learn, and then get certificate and go. No. There must be deliberate making sure that everybody is channeled towards the noble idea that we have at a strategic level of government. Otherwise, at the beginning of the year, you will remember that we talk of the e-learning solution that we have to bring in terms of connecting 2,000 schools in the province. That process has already gone to the procurement, is on the final stage now. When you speak of digital support, you are going to require some of these initiatives that are taken at that particular level. Because once you talk online education, you are going to hit the nail on the head, because at times some learners won't be able to go to school precisely because of the weather conditions in the far-flung areas where you have got a problem of road network infrastructure. The fact that there is that crisis of not having bridges and roads does not mean that school must not be there. So you need an alternative to the traditional way of doing things, which then accommodate those that might be affected by whatever eventuality that could be there. Hence, we are also upscaling the issue of the digital support, the online education, online administration. By the way, we are going towards that direction now, so that you also shorten up the process of administration. Lo mcimbi wothathwa kwe-files zisuka ngapha embizana ukuze head office zilahleke nolahleka apha endleleni, okanye kwenzeke noba i-accident emotweni apha endleleni, can create a problem. So that's why I'm saying we are not going to not to take into consideration that we are on the 4YR, we are on the fourth industrial revolution now era, and therefore there must be a way by which sectors of government respond to that broader scale scheme of things.